Hello, my name's Norman Lowry. I'm the Executive Director of the clinic, and I'm here today with Linda, who's
Hi.
a patient at the clinic. And we're here to discuss the proper way to eat while you're on your program here at Alternative Health Improvement Center so that you actually enhance your body's ability to heal.
Okay.
And this will be a lot different than a diet where you are worried about losing weight or gaining weight. This actually is specifically a way to eat so that you enhance your immune system and heal faster.
Okay.
So the first thing that you need to know is how the body actually uses food.
Okay.
So how old do you think your face is?
As old as I am.
You know, you think that, but it really isn't true. Actually, your face is only as old as the cells on the outside of the skin, and they actually rebuild themselves pretty much every day.
Oh, yeah, it is true.
Yeah.
Now to think about it.
And actually, your other organs in your body, your heart, your liver, your lungs, actually rebuild completely every few months.
Never thought of it that way.
Yeah. So where do you think your body gets all those replacement parts to rebuild all those cells?
Probably from food.
You would be right. Your body actually gets the replacement parts that it needs to rebuild itself from the food that you eat. And another thing is that the body actually can't manufacture the replacement parts itself. It actually has to get them fully made from the food chain by eating the cells of plants and animals.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So your body uses food then really for two purposes.
Okay.
The first one is the energy that everybody's familiar with, and the second one would be to rebuild the cells so that the body can actually always rebuild itself and stay renewed and healthy. So the first thing that I want to do is to give you some basic rules on how you can do a better job of choosing healthy food for yourself.
Okay.
And the rules that I have are very simple, very easy to remember.
Okay.
The first rule is so simple that people have trouble with it.
All right.
And what it is the definition of food.
Okay.
And you know that most people cannot give me a definition of food other than to tell me it's what I put in my mouth.
Yeah, that's what I eat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the definition of food that I'd like to give you and see if you can agree with this is the living tissue of plants and animals.
Oh, that's interesting.
Does that work for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what you're actually eating when you're eating. Now, here's an interesting thing. When you were a little girl, did your mom ever catch you eating something that wasn't food? You know, like mud pies or soap or something?
Yeah, I ate soap.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. Did your mom ever tell you anything along the lines of, don't eat things that are not food?
Yeah, something like that.
Right. Would you still be willing to go along with that today? Do you think that's a good rule to have?
That's a good rule.
Okay, and guess what? That's our first rule.
Okay.
Don't eat things that are not food. Well, we gave you the definition of food, living tissue of plants and animals. So what does that make Diet Cola?
That means it's not food.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
if you're not going to eat things that aren't food, you see how simple this is.
Yeah.
Okay? So then there is a corollary to that rule, and the corollary is don't eat things which contain things which are not food. So if you go into the grocery store, into that sort of vast wasteland where the canned and bottled and boxed foods are, and whereas the fresh foods are on the outside of the grocery store, then if you pull any of those cereal boxes or canned beans down or whatever, you're going to see in the ingredient list, as you get about halfway through, a lot of words that are really long and you probably don't know what they mean.
Yeah, I don't know what they mean.
right.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think those are food by our definition of food?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's our corollary. Don't eat food which contains things that are not food.
Yeah, if
You
you
see?
can't read it, don't eat it.
There you go. That's very
Okay.
good. Exactly. Very good. Good. So the next thing that I want to help you with is some guidelines on how you can judge the quality of food once you've determined that you're actually eating food.
All right.
All right, good. So the first one is freshness. If I was to take some of our living tissue of plants and animals and plop it on the floor right there, how long before it stinks us out?
It won't take very long.
That's right. It deteriorates very rapidly when it's no longer part of the living organism,
Yeah.
right? Okay, good. So the body can use tissue that is in good condition for cell replacement, but tissue that begins to deteriorate a bit can only be used effectively for energy.
Oh, okay.
For example, canned beans contain very little of their original nutrition, but they can actually be used for energy.
Didn't know that.
Right. So for your purposes, since you're on a health improvement program with us, you obviously would want to get as many replacement parts into your body as you could,
Right.
so you can see the relevance of eating very, very fresh food as opposed to canned foods and foods which are preserved.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Okay.
Good. So the second guideline has to do with processing. Processing is a word that just means changed.
Okay.
So if you're processing food, you could be cooking meat, for example, cutting up carrots. Neither one of these things would be considered to be damaging to the food because they make it either safe or more edible.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you over-process food, in other words, you grind it up or mix it with many chemicals and all the flavor enhancers and various things that are done, then you actually can deteriorate the quality of the food to the point that it actually is not suitable for replacement parts for your body.
I understand.
Good. Let's pretend that you are in the business of manufacturing processed foods.
All right.
You know, the stuff you find in the middle of the grocery store, the cans, boxes, and bags we were
Okay.
just talking about. And you have a problem. The food that you manufacture, because it has to be so cheap, you have to buy very cheap food, and because it has to have very long shelf life, you have to put all these preservatives and such in it. It tastes like cardboard.
Oh, really?
That's right.
Okay,
None
that's
of
a
your
problem.
none of your customers are going to buy it. Okay?
Okay.
So you need a flavor enhancer that you can add to your food that will actually cause it to taste better so that people will still want to buy it.
All right.
Well, let's pretend I'm in the flavor enhancer sales business.
Okay.
Okay? And I have a flavor enhancer for you that you can't turn down.
Okay.
Let me tell you about it.
No.
First thing is it's FDA approved, it's totally safe.
All right.
Secondly, it's actually addictive.
Addictive?
Right. So if
Okay.
your customers eat food containing it, they can't wait to come back and buy more.
Hmm.
Third, it's an appetite stimulant. So if they start eating, they'll eat more of it.
Oh, really?
Good for you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And fourth, it's actually dirt cheap and available everywhere.
Wow.
So what is it?
What is it?
Sugar.
Sugar?
Sugar.
Wow.
And actually, if you are to go into that grocery store area and just pick up any box or can or bottle, and you begin to read through the ingredient list, you're going to find, and you may have looked already, and seen
Yeah.
that sugar is in almost everything.
Yeah. Even beans. I always wondered what was in beans.
It's in canned green beans.
Yeah.
Did you ever wonder why?
Yeah, I had.
Yeah.
Actually, I had
Yeah.
wondered why.
And this is why it's the flavor enhancer that they have to put in the food so that yours, since you're the manufacturer, can actually sell the food.
Imagine that.
That's right. So the way you actually can identify that it's in your food is to just to read the ingredient label. Anything ending in OSE, for example, maltose, fructose, sucrose, you see any of these things, those are another name for sugar.
Okay.
Also the syrup, so you're looking for corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, that's the industrial
Oh,
strength
okay.
variety. Okay, any of these, of course, would be sugar as well. I have a story to tell you to illustrate why I'm talking to you now about sugar.
All right.
So you probably know that vitamin C is good for you when you're sick and have a cold,
Yeah,
right?
I do.
Okay. Well, a brilliant microbiologist by the name of Dr. Linus Pauling, who won 2 Nobel Prizes, in the 1970s found that vitamin C helps the body to combat the common cold. Dr. Pauling's research found that there are special types of cells in your body called phagocytes. And you're probably familiar with the most common one, which is a white blood cell.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Yeah. Well, phagocytes, or white blood cells, actually engulf, or you might even say eat, garbage in the body. They're the body's garbage collectors. And they actually swallow and eat bacteria, viruses, but also, and most importantly from our viewpoint with you healing, they get rid of the waste products from broken up cells that your body is getting rid of so that it can rebuild it with new cells.
Didn't know
So
that.
that's right. So anytime your body is healing, it's going to actually be getting rid of a lot of old cells, and it can only heal as fast as our garbage collector, phagocytes, can actually eat and dissolve those so that it can continue to process of healing. Dr. Pauling found that phagocytes and white blood cells use vitamin C kind of like a car uses gas to be able to actually dissolve the garbage that they're getting rid of. And what he found is that the cell, the actual white blood cell, for example, has to have a concentration of about 50 times the amount of vitamin C inside the cell that you would normally find in the bloodstream. So to that effect, you have little, what you might call vitamin C pumps all over the outside of the cell, pushing the vitamin C into the cell as the cell uses it. So what he also found was that sugar has a very, very similar structure to vitamin C.
Oh.
So similar, in fact, that if there is too much sugar in the bloodstream, if you have a concentration of sugar in the bloodstream that's above what it normally should be, that the little pumps that are normally pumping the vitamin C will start grabbing sugar molecules by mistake because they're so similar.
Wow.
And instead, they'll pump the sugar into the phagocyte.
Wow.
Well, now, sugar isn't bad for a phagocyte, but you can see that it actually reduces the concentration of vitamin C inside the cell because the sugar's taking up the space. If you eat something like cookies or drink a cola of any kind, that's enough to raise the blood sugar level so that all over the body, the white blood cells and phagocytes are actually going to be reduced in their capacity to dissolve garbage by up to 60%.
Wow.
And worse, it can take 4 to 6 hours for them to regain 100% usefulness. So what would happen if you ate sugar, say, in the morning and sugar again in the afternoon?
They wouldn't recover, would they?
That's right. So almost the whole day, your actual immune system would be severely down by more than half.
Wow.
Sugar is a major factor in a number of illnesses. For example, heart disease, which is the #1 killer in the United States. When you eat sugar, it raises your insulin levels in your body. Insulin also causes your triglycerides to go up, which puts strain on your heart.
Oh.
So also there have been a lot of studies that link the consumption of sugar and sugary type foods like candy, cake, cookies, ice cream, soda pop to behavior problems in children. And this can be, cause things like overactive, hostile, silly, aggressive type behavior in children. It's also been related to a number of ailments. And I actually have a list here with a tremendous number of different things on it. But I just have a few that I want to actually just cover with you, just so you're familiar with some of these. Sugar can cause anxiety, asthma, depression, eczema, fatigue, food cravings, hormonal problems, hyperactivity, hypertension, high blood pressure, impaired digestion, indigestion, insomnia, can't sleep, liver dysfunction, menstrual difficulties, mood swings, muscle pain, parasitic infections can come from eating sugar, tooth decay, everybody knows that one, and also vaginal yeast infections.
Wow, that's quite a list.
It's not a good list, you're right. There's another common food that we need to discuss, and that's dairy products, specifically milk and cream.
Oh, okay.
So dairy products are actually mucus forming. And mucus creates a really nice home for bacteria, funguses, viruses, and not only can that stress your immune system and slow down your healing, but also sometimes these things get out of control and can create chronic health problems. There's some other things you should know about dairy products. One thing is that they're not actually nutritious.
They're not?
No, you just tend to fall for the advertising. Pasteurization, which is a process of heating milk to a very high temperature, actually kills off all the good bacteria in the milk that would normally help repopulate your gut and actually help you digest food. That's right. And also it kills off the enzymes that your body needs to digest lactose, calcium, and a lot of other important nutrients. So this keeps the calcium, which everyone, of course, is so excited about with milk, from even being able to be digested by your body. So that makes milk not necessarily such a good source of calcium. 50 years ago, an average cow produced 2,000 pounds of milk a year. And today we have cows that produce about 50,000 pounds of milk a year.
You're kidding.
No, it's quite a difference. And the difference here is actually achieved by the use of a synthetic hormone called bovine growth hormone.
I've heard of that.
That's right. And they actually is used to stimulate the cow to constantly produce milk. It's interesting that the United States is the only industrialized nation left in the world that hasn't outlawed the use of the bovine growth hormone.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's not necessarily a good thing.
No.
Synthetic hormones have been proven to be really detrimental to the function of your body's hormone system. So drinking milk with that in it is not good. Cows that produce milk are also fed grains that have been grown using insecticides and herbicides. And these insecticides, of course, are not removed during pasteurization, and they get passed on to you.
Wow.
So like the synthetic hormones, the insecticides and herbicides have been shown to adversely affect your endocrine or hormone system as well.
Oh, wow.
Right. So another thing is that cows on farms are typically loaded up with antibiotics. And the reason for this is that it's easier to actually put a lot of antibiotics into the animals than it is to keep the farm really clean. It keeps them from getting sick.
Oh.
It's not too appetizing, but that's
No.
the reason they do it. So, of course, the antibiotics, just like the hormones and the pesticides, are passed on to you drinking the milk. So, another thing is that drinking milk for a long period of time, of course, can have a similar effect to taking antibiotics for a long period of time because you're constantly getting them, you see, with the milk.
Oh, I would have never guessed that.
Right, and of course antibiotics kill off the good bacteria in the bowel and also can lead to problems with yeast infections and allergens. Another thing, of course, is that long-term antibiotic use can affect your germ-fighting ability in your body, and they can actually get to the point where they don't know how to fight the germs because these antibiotics have been doing it for the body for so long. And so without the antibiotics then later on, the body can actually be kind of left unprepared. So right now, as you're taking a lot of steps to prepare your body to actually heal fast during our program, we recommend very strongly that you avoid milk because you need all the bacteria fighting ability that your body can muster.
What about cheeses and butter and things like that?
Yeah, other dairy products other than milk or cream. So the problem with milk and cream is two things. One is they're just absolutely loaded with sugar. And the other one is that the proteins in the milk and the cream, of course, are designed for food for baby cows. This is a large animal with 4 stomachs, so it can digest things that you can't.
Yeah.
And these proteins are broken down, and the sugar is consumed by bacteria that makes cheese out of the milk.
Oh,
So
that makes sense.
cheese can actually be high-quality food as long as you can taste it and you can't taste any of the sugar. In other words, if the bacteria has finished the job. And I'll bet you can think of one cheese that's sweet, right?
Yeah.
Cream cheese.
Cream cheese.
Cream
Yeah,
cheese,
cream cheese
exactly
sweet.
right.
Yeah.
So cream cheese would not be good food because it still contains the very large proteins and all the sugar.
Okay.
So other than that, things like even cottage cheese and goat cheese or cottage cheese, Swiss cheese, all the cheeses that you know and love are actually quite good food in moderate quantities for people who are not sensitive to them.
Oh, this is good.
Yes.
Okay.
Butter also contains some fatty acids, which the body definitely needs, and butter is generally in reasonable quantities also just fine.
Oh, great.
All right.
Okay.
I hope you have learned a lot from our discussion here about food and also how food can affect your health, and particularly how food can affect the speed of your healing program here.
I think I have.
Great. And I know we've covered a lot of material. But we'll have a nutrition consultant meet with you here in just a few minutes and actually go over a little bit more material with you and give you some ideas about what you can eat for breakfast and lunch and dinner and snacks and that you'll enjoy and also help you recover your health even faster.
All right.
So thanks a lot for listening to me.
Thank you.